So when I first heard this word acrocordon, I literally thought it had something to do with spiders. Okay? Rest assured, it has nothing to do with spiders. Acrocordon is essentially a big, giant, fancy medical word for skin tag. They're benign, they don't bother people, but there are times when they're in areas that are inconvenient. When it's in an area that's inconvenient or cosmetically unappealing or causing irritation, they can just be removed. They're very easy to take off. So acrocordon actually has the Greeks stepping up to the plate. So this word stems from acron, meaning extremity, and cordon, which means cord. Simple. Acrocordon. Skin tag. So another big fancy word for a very common condition is gynecomastia. Essentially, man boobs. And this is something that gets a lot of jokes in our society, but it's certainly not a joke to somebody who's afflicted with it. The thing that's interesting about this word to me is the word itself, when it's broken down, doesn't really explicitly say it's for males. The word is a Greek origin, and gyne, meaning woman, like gynecologist or gynecology, and then mastos, meaning breast. So if I literally translate it over, it would be woman breast. Again, we attribute this almost always to males, but in the word itself, it just means woman breast. So if you happen to know why we use this for males only, please let me know in the comments. I'm actually genuinely curious. So this next word sounds really scary, like crypt keeper.
What's the matter?
Onychocryptosis. Big fancy word for ingrown toenail. There's a special place in hell for ingrown toenails. I really think onychocryptosis is not an adequately scary or big enough name for an ingrown toenail. Really, it should be called something like megalomassive, major, gigantic, tormentous mammothitis. Yeah, something like that. You can quote me on that in your research paper if you'd like. If you ever had one, you clearly know that my new name actually fits more so than onychocryptosis. So, onychocryptosis is two parts essentially: onych, nail, and crypt, meaning hidden or buried. The word anosmia has been a really hot topic recently, especially with COVID-19, as this is one of the symptoms. But I'm pretty sure you haven't actually been saying anosmia.
Terrible. Dad joke alert.
So I'm going to give you the meaning of the word for free, so you don't have to pay out the nose for it. Anosmia is can't smell. So anosmia is another one that comes from the Greeks, and the prefix "an" is used a lot of times in medicine for without, such as anesthesia, without feeling, anemia, without blood. Osme, OSME, is Greek for smell. So this is no smell. So I've talked about this word before, but I wanted to include it here because I find it really fun to say and actually very interesting because it has a little bit of a Latin influence as well as kind of an Old English influence. So this one's hordeolum. So hordeolum is a big, fancy $10 medical word for a sty in your eye. So the word hordeolum comes from the Latin hordeolus, and they use that because hordeolus means a barley corn or a grain of barley, because the little sty in the eye kind of looked like a grain of barley. So the Old English aspect of the word is actually the word sty. So the common term that we use is Old English, STYE. And this is going to be bonus word number 3. So the word sty, STYE, is thought to stem from an Old English word, STI. STI essentially means a rising or swelling. It's what would happen to the eye. So that's right. Bonus word number 4, or really 3.5, I guess. Yeah. So the word sty is Old English in origin, But there is some information that says it might have come from the word styany, which actually came from the word styen, which then came from stygund, which is the Old English word that sty that I previously talked about came from. Who's right, who's wrong? I don't know. It may not really matter, but it's kind of cool to know that this convergence of these words came together, and ultimately now we just say sty. Yep. So that pretty much wraps it up. 8 words plus 3.5-ish bonus words, right? Complicated words that have very simple counterparts out in the universe, like on the street, like things people say every day. They're just words I find interesting. The next move is the flip side of that, where I'm going to take simple terminology, things people every day talk about, and explain to you guys what's the complicated word for that. So, for instance, a trigger finger. Trigger finger is stenosing tenosynovitis. And the point of this is twofold. Well, three really. First is to hopefully have some fun, right? Just screw around with some words, learn some stuff. That's number two, learn some stuff. But what's important for you, especially in healthcare, is you need to know the words that your patients are going to understand the most. And your patients do not care about piloerection. They do not care about verruca vulgaris. What they care about is wart. What they care about is skin tag. I mean, these things are what's important to them, and you want to make sure to talk on their level. However, the medical terminology is important because that is how you're going to document, right? You're going to document with the words of medicine. Why? Because you're in medicine. And if you're not in medicine, I hope you just had a good time. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, the whole shebang. YouTube appreciates it, I suppose. I certainly appreciate it for sure. Hopefully it was enjoyable and somewhat educational and maybe slightly funny. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a good night.